Hey soldiers, unemployment is about to rise right along with these interest rates. It's going to become more of a reality in our economy, and that is because Jerome Powell not only raised interest rates by 75 basis points yesterday for you, but Goldman Sachs forecast that he's going to raise rates 2 more times in 2022.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Okay, so we've got everybody's favorite former Native American, Elizabeth Warren. She's out there, Senator Warren is out there shaking her fist, and she is saying that these interest rate hikes are going to destroy jobs. And she's right. Let's go through and look at what she had to say. Now, let me caution you. She's not being altruistic at all. She doesn't care whether you work or not. What she does care about is the Senate remaining in Democrat hands so that she can keep her nice committee assignments and remain in power. That's why she does not like these interest rate hikes, because she knows if people are not working, it is the economy that's going to drive their decision in November when they go out to vote. And in all likelihood, we're looking at the Republicans taking over the House, possibly the Senate. And, she doesn't want to see that happen. So she comes out with a tweet today directed at Federal Reserve Chairman Powell. And it says, Chair Powell just announced another extreme interest rate hike while forecasting higher unemployment. I've been warning that Chair Powell's Fed would throw millions of Americans out of work. And I fear he's already on the path to doing so. Now, let me tell you something. Let's just talk brass tacks. Jerome Powell doesn't care about your individual job. And he's not supposed to, okay? This is, adult content here. Brass tacks. So the Fed, he's got to make decisions about the larger economy. Whether you agree with the whole central banking concept or not, I think we can all agree that he really doesn't even appear on his radar, your need to feed your family, okay? He's looking at a longer term horizon. He's also got ambitions, okay? He don't want to be fed forever. Can't make a lot of money being a Federal Reserve chair. He wants, one of those sweet corporate board positions after this. Or maybe even the CEO position of, Goldman Sachs, possibly. So that is why Powell is upset. But she is right that there are going to be millions of Americans losing their job. Going over here to my Wall Street Journal that I picked up in the driveway just mere moments ago, the Gap is going to cut 500 corporate positions, okay? We've got companies like Google, okay? Google is going to start laying off. Meta or Facebook, call them Facebook, they're going to start laying off. But here's the interesting thing. They're not referring to these as layoffs. We're in an era right now of redefinition. So, you don't have to call something what it is. You can just come up with a different name for it.
Naya Okami may look like a human, but she identifies as a wolf.
We're not in a recession. Inflation is transitory. I referred to that in the last video. In response to stalling growth and intense competition, Meta Platforms executives have spoken of cost cuts, hiring freezes, and, quote, ruthless prioritization, unquote. Now, ruthless prioritization, we'll get back to that in a minute. One word the company has not used is layoffs, but Meta has begun quietly nudging out a significant number of staffers by reorganizing departments. So a layoff by any other name, right? And when they say ruthless prioritization, they're not talking about getting rid of the water cooler, okay? They're not talking about that. They're talking about getting rid of you.
You're all fired.
Because you, the employee, are the most expensive aspect of that operation. You, the human. Now, Meta is also making a big deal about giving affected employees some time to apply for jobs within the company. Let me tell you something. That's a farce. I was in the corporate environment, as I've spoken to a lot on the channel, and they used to come around with a RIF or reduction in force every year. I knew people that were RIF'd, and they say, hey, just apply for a job within the company and things will be okay. No one I know ever got that, okay? And let me tell you this other tidbit. For all of you aspiring corporate chieftains, the only job that I got within my Fortune 500 employer's company, Verizon, the only job I got via actually applying for the job was the first one that brought me in when I was in college. I was a part-time telemarketer. So you and I have probably spoken. I probably called you around dinner and tried to get you to buy like a caller ID or something. But that was many, many moons ago. But every job I got, every last one I got since the first one, my 14 years in that company, on up to the last one, which was a lobbyist in Washington, D.C., every last one of those jobs was a tap on the shoulder. I saw the announcement a week or two later after I was in the spot. And I wasn't the only one that was happening to. And going further, every job I applied for after that first one, I got none of them. Okay. So I was fortunate enough to be able to rise through the ranks of the company. Hell, I went from part-time telemarketer to lobbyist within 14 years. I think I did fairly well. But none of the jobs I applied for did I get. And I applied for quite a few, but I always got a tap on the shoulder and say, hey, you want to come over here and work? So Meta is no different. Trust me. Google is no different. So the reductions are expected to be a prelude to deeper cuts, with Meta looking to trim costs by at least 10% within the next few months, according to people informed of the company's plans. While some savings will come from cuts to overhead and consulting budgets, the people said. Yeah, but again, you can't get as much from that as you can get from cutting a salary and all the benefits associated with it, okay? Medical benefits, maybe educational benefits as well. Time off, which is a benefit, but it's a hell of an expense for the company because your 2 weeks vacation is unproductive time they've got to pay for. So that's what's going on. Google, Meta, the Gap. These are white collar jobs too. So, I heard some idiot rejoicing that white collar employees were losing their jobs because this individual happened to be a blue collar employee. And I immediately thought, hey, for every white collar employee who loses their job, there is a restaurant that will serve one less lunch per day or per week or however frequently that person goes to, patronize that restaurant. For every white collar position that is eliminated, that is an individual, hey, who no longer needs landscaping services. They got the time to do it if they've been laid off, and hey, they need to cut expenses too, right? So we see the downstream effect from white collar jobs to those blue collar jobs and those small businesses. So this is a great big deal that has an impact far beyond just the initial headline of Gap is going to, what did they say, cut 500 corporate jobs. All right, and parenthetically, Meta, Mark Zuckerberg is taking it on the chin. Zuckerberg has lost half his fortune in 2022, $63.5 billion, making his wealth go down 50.6%. And, I'm not crying for the guy, but it is worth mentioning that now he can only buy 36 million ounces of gold as opposed to, however many he could buy with his, with his earnings prior to that. So that's some perspective. But I don't get mad at folk that are making money. Like some people, how can he get paid that much to throw a football? Hey, if he can find somebody to pay him to do it, why not, right? Why would he turn that down? Why would that player turn that down? Okay, so that's what we're looking at. Now let's pivot. We need to talk about how you need to look at this situation and win, okay? Because that's what this channel is all about. We're not here just to do doom and gloom. That's not what we do. What we do is we look at the situations and then we strive for solutions. So it's important to note that Goldman Sachs is coming out and saying not only do they see 2 more rate increases this year, they are forecasting that these rates will be in the 50 basis point range. So 1 additional full percentage point increase before December 31st of 2022. Interestingly enough, they are also saying services inflation will likely remain high, even in the midst of these rising rates. Because there will, if this plan works, raising rates in order to bring down inflation, it should work. It's a macroeconomic process, but it's going to take time. So you're going to see some time as the inflation rate decreases and the interest rate increases. So we're going to experience higher rates and relatively high, based on our experience in the last decade or so, relatively high inflation. So, listen, I've never been a baller. I've never been someone who likes to flaunt. And, if that's what you're into, hey, knock yourself out. As long as you don't hurt anybody else, do you. But if there are areas in your life where you can consolidate and, cut back and start to pull some money in, you need to start doing that. You need to start doing that immediately. I know it's difficult to do, okay? But one thing that I endeavored in here recently was I just sat down and I took a good look at all of the subscription services that I had. And can you believe? That's not an exorbitant amount, but I had about $50 worth of subscriptions I wasn't even aware of, let alone using, okay? And then I had a portion that, I could say, hey, I can do without this. I got a car. I think I told you this a while ago. We got a car we don't even drive. We never drive the car. And when we do, we just take it a few miles to the grocery store. So I cut out XM in that car. Now, here's the meat and potatoes, and we've gone over this before. In order for you, if you have adopted a philosophy that's like mine, a wealth building philosophy like mine, which is to acquire assets, have them kick off an income, live off of a portion of that income, and never sell those assets in order to avoid taxation, okay? If you have a similar philosophy, then you need to continue to be able to buy assets, right? So that's one of the reasons why one of the assets that you seriously need to look at acquiring is your own business, because that will be the asset class that has the highest return potential. Again, between 15 and 30%, so says Cabbage, the lender, not me. So when we plug those types of numbers into our calculation that we recently brought up on the channel, the rule of 72, then how long will it take for your money to double if you're reinvesting in your business? Let's take it, almost halfway. Let's say let's be conservative about, say, 20%. Okay, so your money is doubling every 3, almost every 4, closer to 4. Your money is doubling every 4 years. If one of your major assets is a business that is growing, okay, and you're reinvesting in it, and you're doing the right things by your business, and you're in a competitive field, then you can go out there and establish a business that manufactures, buggy whips, and I'm sure that's not going to be doubling, or it's not going to be bringing in 15 to 30%. I assure you of that. So you got to have a business that's in a competitive field, because you want it to be in a competitive field. People, that indicates to you that there's a market. That is why you see gas stations catty corner, diagonally across the street from each other a lot of times. That is why you see a McDonald's over here on this side of the street and a Burger King here on this side of the street. I live in an area where there has been a McDonald's on the eastern direction of a major highway in our area, and a Burger King directly across the street on the western facing. And they've got 2 turnoffs, just in case you're coming down here eastward and you had McDonald's yesterday, no problem. The county who's collecting taxes on it all, said, go on in, make that turn off and go to Burger King, or vice versa if you had Burger King yesterday. So this is why you got to find a business that obviously has a market. And if there's competition in the industry, then that indicates there is a market. So your own business, I'm telling you, start it now. The best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. The second best time is now. Do not hesitate, because Jerome Powell does not care about whether or not you are able to put food on the table. Liz Warren and these senators out here and all of these politicians with all of their highfalutin, grandiose promises and, pronouncements don't care about you. I can guarantee you that. I was a legislative assistant at one point, and boy, oh boy, if I might one day write a tell-all book and let you know how these people really feel about you. You got to do it yourself. You're on your own. So the one asset that you can control in a very, discreet manner, and you want to make more money, expand your business. If I want to make more money as a financial services professional, then what I need to do is I need to maybe affiliate with another company or another group, because I am a broker, another group of companies that offer a wider array of services, expand into a different part of the country. I got options, okay? The only option a W-2 employee has is to walk into the office of the boss and say, hey, can I get a raise? And if you're lucky enough to get one, it will not be even amounting to headline inflation, which is 8.3% year over year as we stand. Okay, it definitely will be nowhere near 17% real inflation. And you also need to remember that that W-2 income will be taxed most onerously. You will not get the advantages that someone who owns a business is able to get, because the IRS and the government, they want you to go out there and invest. I don't care what these politicians say. The IRS, the government, they want you to go out and do things that they don't then have to do. Okay, like provide housing, or provide service that takes care of clothing. Or let's take one of the services that, my company provides, which is helping people to prepare for retirement. Because we talked about just yesterday, 2034, Social Security is going to be at the point where it's only paying out 78% of what can be expected now if you're going to retire and around that time. You're only going to get 78%. And we're still spending money like drunken sailors, so you never know. You might not get that. All right, guys, I appreciate it. Listen, I want you to go ahead now and watch this video. This video is about what we talked about earlier. It's another way to advantage yourself in a rising interest rate environment. You've got to take advantage of every advantage that you can get your hands on. Because again, we're going to be in that period where inflation, it might even continue to rise, but we definitely know interest rates are going to continue to rise. They rose today by 75 basis points, and if Goldman Sachs is right, they're going to rise another entire percentage point before the end of the year. Guys, I'll talk to you soon.